I think you topped yourself from the last introduction, Whitney. Thank you. Really love you too. Well, thank you all. It's great to be back with you again. I doubt that ever in my life I will have a table set more perfectly for what I want to share than the way you've set the table today. Every piece of it, the sharings, everyone, the meditation, Melanie, thank you. The mission statement, the inspiration piece, Amy, every bit of it is, all of that I don't need to say, because that's how you live and think and believe. And so we're already on page 12 of whatever it is I would want to do. And I'm excited and grateful for that. Really am. Love you all. So let's talk about this. My overall intention here is to move from some of the theory and the ideas, the template of emotional competence, the emotional compass, and that process. And today, pay attention to how it works, what I call the applications. And I'd like to give you a menu of applications, what to do with this. In the time we have, I don't think it makes sense to attempt to do each one of these exercises. So I'm voting to tell you what the exercises are, and then you can pick the ones you want to do on your own, because you can certainly do them on your own. It doesn't require a group to do these. Although one of them, the one about cultural prohibitions against emotions, is a fun thing to do in a group, because we hear much more about the cultural milieu that we swim in when we hear a lot of voices define it, especially hearing differences, for example, between men and women about what the rules are about how we do emotions. So I'll share a little bit of the slide deck from last time just to give us a refresher. But before I do that, I want to just call your attention to what I would call the three-step process of the emotional compass. And that is first to go beneath all the cover words and kind of false language to what my primary emotion is. Recognize one of those six. And I said, I don't have love on that list. You can put it on the list if you want, feel free. The reason love is not on that list of primary emotions is because, and this has to do with cultural prohibitions, in presenting this in the corporate world, teaching emotional competence to people in the public sphere, in the corporate setting, for example, institutional settings, love is off limits. We can't talk about that. It's too emotional, it's too provocative, it's too nebulous. So I just don't worry about it. But in a group like this, put it on the list, because we will use it. In the same way we talk about deepening the sense, the emotion of peaceful, the emotion of empowered, and the emotion of joy, and those families, we also, of course, deepen love, my experience of love, and then the projecting of it. So so step one is recognizing the primary emotion. Step two is remembering the meaning of those primary emotions. Why do humans have them universally? And what is their purpose? Since everything is intelligently interconnected in our universe, every emotion we have is purposeful. If we find the authentic emotion and we don't try to chase the purpose of a substitute emotion, if I'm substituting, I won't find the proper purpose because I'm involved in a self-deception, like substituting mad for scared, which a lot of guys do. So the second step is recognizing the meaning. and getting beneath the substitutions. So I know the purpose of what I'm feeling. And the third step then is to take action according to that meaning, if you remember this from last time. So, for example, if I am scared or in that scared family, I know the meaning is I want to seek protection of some kind. Then I act to secure protection, to resolve the emotion and to take care of myself. At that point, my action actually can occur at 6 different levels. And I think we briefly touched on that last time. I want to come back to that, because with all this understanding of emotion, the action that we take is a little bit more complicated. It's got a 6-part structure to it as well. So I'm thinking if we can get through 20 minutes of the ideas and the possible exercises, then I'd like to see if I can shoot for 8:30 today to give it back to you to hear your questions about this and make this more back and forth than it was last time. So I'm going to share my screen. And so if you do have questions, know that we're coming there. If you can hang on to them, we will do that. Oh, let's see. If I'm going to share my screen, I better pull up my slide deck. There we go. And I should have permission to share, right? Oh, okay, I get it. Maybe that's yeah, that was my problem. Come. Okay, you can see that, I believe. All right, I see Paul nodding yes, and I'll take that for everybody. So I'm going to race through this. And I'm sorry for anybody who was not here last time that this will be quick. The meditation and the inspiration do talk about a mind like water, the stillness, the quietness. And that is what we are after. These are the steps. I've got 6 here instead of 3. Made a distinction between literacy and competence because competence involves taking action. And emotional intelligence is a completely different concept altogether. I don't even go there. I think it's just way too complicated myself. Definition of competence has to do with the skill to take the action. The first step of recognizing the emotion requires us to get beneath the cover words. And covers are going to start out, I feel like you are not paying attention to me. That's, of course, a thought and a judgment. It's not an emotion. And I don't think I said it last time, but confusion is different from ignorance. Ignorance is I don't have knowledge, but confusion is functionally or practically speaking, and Mimi may use the same idea in your work. I don't know exactly what I feel, and therefore I'm not thinking clearly. So my thoughts are jumbled because I don't have emotion. So the resolution to confusion is to know clearly what my feeling is, what my primary emotion is, and then I'm no longer confused. Simple example being giving somebody directions. If somebody doesn't know how to get to point B from point A, there could be ignorance or it could be confusion. If you say, okay, so here's how you get there, and the person is acting confused, then it may be an emotional issue, not an informational one. So what you say is, you see that stoplight down there? Go down to that stoplight, take a right, and go 5 blocks, and then call me. And then I'll take care of you from there. Are you okay with that? And they go, yeah, I'm okay with that. Because now they're not scared anymore. And then I can guide them through. But if I give them a lot of information when that's not the issue is they're frightened of getting lost, then information doesn't help. That's confusion. The emotion is to give them the protection they need, which is, I'll stay with you till you get there. See, so that's kind of how that works. Just covered that about thoughts are complex. They're not adjectives. Emotions are adjectives. And we've covered this. We talked about the barriers. Cover words are all the words that don't actually name a primary emotion or one of the words in a family of the primary emotions. Combinations, we just need to unpack those, break them into their component parts. Like jealousy is all the emotions at once, including love, often, or desire. Guilty and ashamed, we can use those, they're useful. Shame is useful, especially talking about addictions, but in a group setting or a corporate setting, I find it useful to break it apart, take the scared component of that and deal with it, and what protection do I need? And then we're moving forward very productively and can deal with other emotions that are packed in there, if need be. Substitutions, we've already talked about. Sorry about that. Now, cover words. A lot of those are judgments, for example. Talk about that. This is the families, the different words that clearly indicate which primary family I'm in. There is a feeling wheel, which I didn't load up to show you. It just puts these in a brightly colored circle and you can sort out the primary emotions. This then is the meaning and the purpose. That's at the heart of what we're doing. So in most of the applications that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, we want this chart in front of us. I may call it back up in order to do that. That if I am resolving mad, sad, or scared, I'm going to want to know the precise violation or the precise loss or the precise threat that my emotion is signaling. And then I'm going to take one of those actions in the right-hand column. I'm either going to renegotiate an agreement or reset a boundary of some kind. And when I do that effectively about the correct violation, my mad will completely disappear. It's gone. I don't carry it around for weeks because it performed its purpose. It fulfilled its purpose and it's no longer needed. So it disappears. Same is true of sad. If I allow enough time to connect with somebody else and to validate the importance of the loss that I've experienced, validate it as much as it needs validating, then I'm resolved. Then the sadness will gradually disappear with enough honor and enough time and enough connection support. Scared, same. It will resolve if I get the right protection at the right level for the threat that I'm referring to. And real or imagined. I told a story about my daughter I think I did. She was scared about the monster in her closet when she was little. And I opened the closet door and said, no monsters can come out until the sun comes up. I told you about that, yeah. So, and that protection worked for that particular threat at that particular time. And then peaceful, powerful, and joyful. We just want to do more of that, whatever that is, find more ways to express it with more people in more settings. So key points to remember. If we are striving for higher consciousness, if we're striving for in improving our vibration, if we want to send the right vibrational energy out into the world, if we want to develop our own intuition, in order to receive the guidance from our ancestors and our guides, whoever we conceive those to be, it's part of the way I improve my intuition is by clearing some unfinished emotions, according to the procedure I just showed you, the emotional compass. And then I can deepen positive emotions, the so-called positive emotions. I can also be more sensitive, more willing to feel other incoming emotions, because the guidance that I receive, that I call intuition, may be in the form of an emotion. It may be in the form of a feeling. It may be in the form of a sensation. And I've got streaming energy going down the back of my neck and my torso right now, because that's where I get my guidance. That's where it comes in. And I can pick up emotions from other people without knowing them. And I know that's how I get that's where I get the information, is through that experience. So the connection between my sensation and my emotion and my knowledge of the guidance that I'm getting, that's how my intuition works. So intuition works differently for different people. Sometimes it's a picture, a thought that manifests as a picture. Okay, so another key point is number 2. Don't worry about the size of the emotion. That's a cultural difference. Some people are very expressive, others are not. For example, men who are raised to not show emotion does not mean we don't have all the emotions, and it doesn't mean we don't have them deeply, because we do, all humans do. It's just that we express them differently. So you have to look for the different clues to know what we feel. And it doesn't mean that we don't have emotion. We men are deeply feeling creatures. So in meditation, I can't remember if I showed this slide last time or not, but in cognition, I'm asking, I'm thinking when I pray, I'm forming ideas, and in action, I may be breathing in and out. I may be doing an action of some kind, letting go, exhaling distress, for example. Those are actions combined with my thinking. And I'm also in meditation, I am alert to deepening my emotional experience, say of peace and serenity. I'm aware of thought, I'm aware of action, I'm also aware of emotion. So part of my meditation is I'm opening to the experience of oneness, serenity, peace. And so peaceful is the emotional experience of receiving grace and forgiveness. So forgiving myself mentally is a cognition, and that's a good thing. But if I don't experience the deep peace emotionally, what have I actually achieved? I think my vibration is improved more, advanced more. My consciousness is advanced, expanded more when I both think the thought of serenity and pray, and also deepen my emotional experience, which is one of the reasons this emotional competence is fun and useful. Now, here are those levels we were talking about. When we talk about the purpose and the action we take, the action can be taken at one of these 6 different levels. And let's say somebody offended me and I'm angry, there's a violation of some kind. It may be that the way I resolve that violation, the way I clear that anger, is that I reset some kind of boundary just in my own mind. I might say, I am not going to put myself in that position again with that person. and I keep that agreement with myself, and I don't need to be angry at them anymore, but I resolved it completely in my own mind. It was a personal level action, if you will, resolution. Maybe I need to actually interact with that one other person, and I need to say, stop, do not do that with me. Will you reach an agreement with me about how we act with each other? And if I can negotiate that with them, then it will resolve there. Sometimes I do need to take the action at that level, set the boundary at that level. If the violation occurred in a group setting, like in a meeting or a team or in a family, I may need to get the resolution in the group setting. So we may need a group agreement about boundaries, about how we use time or how we treat each other, or how we process injuries or something. And an interpersonal action wouldn't be sufficient. So I want to know which level I'm taking the action. If the offense occurred in public with an infinite audience, which is what the public is, group is a defined audience that I can actually communicate with every single member of the group. Public is indefinite, so we use mass media. And if the offense occurred on social media or mass media, it may be that I want the redress to occur in that same medium, at that same level, if you follow me. Like a public apology would be an example of that. Cultural is useful because it's a subset of the infinite public. So it may be that I need something from a particular cultural group, like the group of women or the group of middle-aged folks or young people or trans folks or men. You see, one of the ways to make the infinitude of the public, the overwhelming infinitude of the public manageable, is to speak to subsets of the public and those cultural groups. Plus, some injuries are about cultural differences as well. So they don't really necessarily apply to the entire public. I hope that's not too abstract, but I want to get to our applications. The sixth level is institutional. That's about law, policy, budgets, stuff like that. It's not about a particular audience. It's about the mechanics of society. So the gun violence, and thank you, Bonnie, for reading that. That was exquisite. When I have an emotional reaction to what happened in Texas most recently, I'm going to use just about every part of what we're talking about. Because for me, just clearing my emotions in my own mind is only a part of this. Managing my emotions, staying angry for a legitimate reason to empower me to take action is a conscious choice. It's not unhealthy. Then when I meditate, I'm probably going to want to clear that anger to go back to a mind like water. But if I am organizing in cultural groups, say organizing high school kids to walk out of their classroom in protest, and I'm supporting that particular group, I may be calling for a law to change or a change in policy or procedure. And I will stay at it till we get the change in the institutional level. Okay, so that's how we, and I need group support. I need a whole group like this to know that we are all projecting as much love as we possibly can as the vibrational antidote to that kind of anger and hatred and despair. I need to be in a group of connected support to do that. So thank you all for that. Already covered this. Oh, except, and now we're talking about support. You know that old thing about men don't know how to be supportive of women? Have any of you guys ever heard that before in your lives? Down come to you. You know what that's about? I can teach men how to be highly supportive, paragons of support in 15 minutes. And here it is. You just heard it. Because all support is recognizing the primary emotion in my partner. And this works, of course, whether you're a heterosexual orientation partner or same gender partner, whatever your preference is. It works with another human being if I recognize the primary emotion and I simply hear it and validate that I heard that, that's going to go a really long way. Moreover, if I understand the purpose is there's a violation involved, like if, say, my partner's angry with me, and I know it's about a violation, and I don't get confused about some substitution, then I'm going to listen to and support the negotiation of some kind of boundary. Because I know if we achieve that, then it will be resolved. So this is about listening. This is called perfect listening in my world. Perfect listening is the same thing as providing support. The key thing about it is that support takes 4 different forms here to make it simple. Support when my partner is angry is a different listening, and it's a different response than support when she is sad. I'm heterosexual, so for me it's a she. You see, if I'm listening about a loss and not trying to fix things, I'm listening for clarity, then that's what I'm listening for. Or I'm listening for some kind of threat. You see, and so support takes a very well-defined shape. And if what I'm hearing is something about peaceful, powerful, joyful, then support takes the form of, yeah, let's celebrate together. Let's do this together. I'm with you. That's great, you see? So I can't just be, I can be, but it's not very effective. I can just say, I highly support you. That's not the same as being this specific about the support that I give. So that's a lot of fun because we all get to be exquisitely supportive. And I think you all already are in so many ways. And again, if it comes time to take action, not merely listening precisely, but taking action, then my support will be delivered either for you or for me in one of these 6 channels of action, channels of behavior. Okay. Now, so here, let's get to exercises. We're right on time. I said I would do this at 8:30, and here we are. Well, actually, no, I'm a little behind, so I need to kind of jump through this. One exercise is to list your own substitution patterns. Rank order your own emotions: mad, sad, scared, peaceful, powerful, joyful. Put them in a list and put the one that you're most comfortable expressing in a group, in your family or with your friends or at work, most comfortable expressing at the top and least at the bottom, and draw a line in the middle below which you don't want to let people see any of those. Now, I know in this group, you all have a lot of permission to share every emotion you have because it's in your mission statement and you practice it. So in this group, your line is going to be all the way at the bottom because it's okay to talk about any of them. And you've got the vocabulary to do it. But in other settings, you may have a prohibition. Then practice allowing for the excluded emotions allows people or me to get underneath my substitution. And Harvey, I didn't disable the drawing function on my slide. So if you can disable that, that would be helpful. Otherwise, we'll leave your artwork in place. So that's about substitution patterns. Another application here. So this is another exercise. If you, and this is to give you the ability to ask more questions in a moment. if you want to achieve closure with someone, you select the emotions that point backwards rather than forwards, because you're talking about some unfinished business with the past. Unfinished business takes the form of mad, sad, and positive emotions, love, gratitude, so on. And so if I'm unfinished with a person, it's because I haven't fully expressed those. I don't talk about scare. That's not on this list, because scare points to the future. It's like problem solving into the future. That's not closure. So closure is, and it's unilateral. I can do closure all on my own. This is what I did when I went to my mother's grave years after she died. I thought about love, gratitude, appreciations, anything that was positive that I had not expressed to her. Regrets were about sadness or loss. Notice regrets about loss, and resentment is about violations. So I did my homework. I thought about all the losses and regrets, all the resentments, all the violations that I experienced, and all the appreciation. So when I went through all of those, and I also kicked in what I'd learned from her, that's part of the gratitude. So this language is different from the emotional language, but you can see the primary emotions are accounted for in here, I hope. And then if I do these, then my emotional experience is of closure. So take note of that if you want to get closure. Think of a person in your life you'd like closure with, and then you can walk through this and you'll feel it. You'll feel the closure coming more and more and more. And if you're not quite done, go back through the list and pick out another one. Here's an application. Talking with your nemesis. If there's somebody that you can't stand, that you just don't want to be in the same room with, but you know you want to make peace with, this is my recommendation. Set your intention for perfect listening. Listen for the message. Listen for the meaning. Don't get distracted by what they think the action is that you should be taking. This is just about perfect listening. So you're listening for what emotion the person is talking from, what's driving them, and clarify what it is they experienced having lost, or what they experience having been violated, or what they experience the threat is. Or it might be listen for what their success is that they're trying to talk about. So when we've done this exercise in the past, there was a gay man who didn't want to talk to a homophobic guy who was on some kind of rant, and his job was to perfectly listen to the homophobic guy. And he couldn't get it. He just couldn't find it. But it was really obvious. The homophobic guy was happy about a law that had been passed that was a homophobic law, in effect. It was discriminatory law, and he was happy about it. So it was difficult for my gay friend to get the meaning of this guy's rant. That the guy was happy, he was joyful. And the goal of perfect listening is to have somebody say, you heard me, you heard me, I feel heard. And that is totally doable. And we're not going to get into the actions we might take. That's about social policy and social programs and leads us down a rabbit hole. But if the goal is simply to hear and be heard and form a relationship where something becomes possible, that's what we mean by listening to your nemesis. Okay, this I've already talked about a little bit. I go through all of these processes in order to deal with public events. In this case, it was the High Court rendering. You can read that. So what else do we have?
Tommy, it's 8 minutes past 8:30.
Thank you. Let's just go straight to questions here. I'm going to stop sharing and we'll do that. Thank you, Whitney. Appreciate it. So stick your hand up if you have one, or if you want to go further into an exercise. I didn't talk about authenticity, moral judgment, Judeo-Christian cultural prohibitions, interspecies communication. Those are all possible conversations or applications.
So I got.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, I mean, this sounds like a third morning if you're game for it, but all of this is fascinating that you just touched on. I just one really quick, simple example of how what you're talking about, the cultural, emotional. So in college, I wasn't very well emotionally developed. I wasn't learning, whatever. So anyway, I had a friend who was from Biafra. And we were walking along the kind of the path on campus there, and he was just a friendly conversation. And as a gesture of friendship, put his hand on the small of my back as we walked along. Now, in our culture, that's something a man does to a woman, and so I felt I was trying to appear very nonchalant. But I felt embarrassed and I felt scared. Will people see us and think I'm gay? And I was also afraid to tell him because I didn't want to seem to be, rejecting his cultural where he was coming from. So it was a very interesting moment. And the emotion that he was feeling was probably just friendship and a normal situation. So I just wanted to throw that as an example there.
Well, interestingly enough, he was supporting you. The two places, if you want to touch somebody for support, two of the best places to express the support so they will experience it, one is in the small of the back and the other's in the soles of the feet. So if you ever need supportive touch, ask for those two areas first and see what happens. Somehow our bodies are wired that way. So I think he was supporting you. Interestingly
Cool.
enough.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Where do you want to aim this? Yeah, Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just really wanted to say that quote that you said last time, that right action resolves emotion. I'd written it down, releases emotion last week. And so I think release and resolve kind of go in that same vernacular and definition. But if you can stop your mind in that moment of those emotions and really go to it, it really does. It's a miraculous what can be the transformation. And I put it to use after your last thing with my mother in this huge way, that I heard what she was saying. I figured, I kind of put together where she was coming from. And when she said one word about something, I was like, oh, wow, that tells me so much. Now I can understand where this other person that was involved in this was coming from. And it made everything just kind of soften and go away, because that person was coming from a place that I didn't think she was coming from, if that makes sense. But so culturally, and this just is riveting my world. I'm like taking copious notes, and I really would love it if you would maybe come back one more time or another time to finish enlightening us on this path, because the world needs this so that we all don't overreact in the wrong way to things, that we stay angry where we need to stay angry, especially maybe right now. Thank you.
Sure. So my thought, Amy, is one, that we're fulfilling the purpose of the emotion. So we're in alignment with our emotional life. we're supporting it, it's supporting us, because it's giving us the meaningful information we need. So I'm aligned with it and it's fulfilling its purpose. So releasing is good, resolving is good, fulfilling is good too. It's kind of a nice way, right? Yeah, Paul, go ahead. I see you next.
One of the things that I learned to do some time ago is to recognize that no matter what anyone says or does, in that moment, they're doing the best they know how. And that really helps me to forgive them or deal with or not react. So, and I think that's true, all of us. Maybe the next day we go, why did I say that, Jesus? But in the moment, they're doing the best they know how. So that's my practice.
If you can clear an emotion with a generous thought like that, I would say go for it. If you find one hanging around that gratitude doesn't dispel, then you'd fall back to the compass. This is for the persistent ones that kind of don't yield. The other thing is that check out the possibility, and this is just theoretical, really, is I can substitute a positive emotion like joyful for anger or sadness or fear. Substitutions work that way too. So it's a nice practice to ask, am I feeling something underneath what I'm aware of? Can I account for all six? That's a nice exercise, yeah. Did I see somebody else's hand? In this, and I don't have the whole screen, so if you see somebody, you can tell me.
Hi, my hand's up. I'll just start talking. It's Carolyn.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Someone put on a Facebook the other day, and I just had to pass it on. And it was these statements. I don't have the energy for hate. Either I love you or wish you well or hope you heal.
And what do you think about that?
Those are pretty much how I want, and I feel that I have been approaching situations that are so uncomfortable, devastating, sad, whatever. You know, I know that only hurt people hurt people. And it seems that, for example, with the gunmen, it seems that most of them have been feeling isolated from other people. And, you know, the sadness and the loss that they have is incredible. And it's all about healing, which they were not able to accomplish.
Okay, thank you. My association with that personally is that for years and years, I lived by thinking about issues like this and talking about them in the cognitive domain. In my spiritual evolution, when I consider myself as one with the shooter and the victims and the families involved, part of my homework is to feel the feelings that they might be feeling and to transform those feelings into love and generosity. That it's an emotional experience that is my contribution to raising the vibration. I'm not so clear how much of my thinking raises my vibration compared to my ability to feel and feel feelings I otherwise would rather avoid. I think.
You mean like empathizing with them?
Yes, I think empathy is, in fact, the process of being willing to have specific emotions. And I think my spiritual evolution is having emotions that I would rather not have.
Yes.
Being willing to face the full range of what I have. Yeah. Natasha, are you clearing energy in the field as we talk?
Yeah, I channel energy, and when I've learned to let it out this way, like nervously, instead of holding it in. And
Great.
yeah, it's kind of like automatic writing, but only the flick of the fingers.
Yeah, great. Well, I wanted to acknowledge that. I'm a big fan of
Channeling.
automatic writing and channeling, and yes, the whole thing.
Perfect. Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize if it gets distracting. I can shut my.
No, it's not distraction, it's affirmation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
welcoming.
all of you say so many positive, beautiful things that attune with my belief systems, and I get very excited exactly when I have a confirmation, and so it's my way of wiring it all together for myself.
That's what I thought, so I wanted to welcome you in with that.
I'm like a deaf person and I'm talking this way.
Great, keep doing it. Yeah, bring it on.
Thank you.
Speak up if you have something. Interspecies communication, shall we go there?
Yes.
Okay, so yesterday, 6 o'clock, I got up, I went outside to walk, and there are a lot of rabbits in my neighborhood, and I talk to them all the time. I think to them, you are safe. I love you, you're welcome. You know, look out for the hawks or whatever, or the coyotes, and you're welcome in my yard. And I'm not a gardener, so I don't have to worry about that. So I usually project thoughts to them. But yesterday I went out, I was counting the number of steps it took to get around the block. So I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, so on. And I was getting up into 400 and 500 steps. But the interesting thing was, every rabbit I came across, and there were 5 or 6 of them out there, they all did not run away from me while my mind was occupied with this counting. I wasn't projecting, thinking anything, just counting. They all allowed me to approach right up to them. One of them stood up erect like a meerkat on his hind legs and just looked at me without any fear at all. And one of them stopped and then came up to me, came from like 6 feet away up to 2 feet away, walked right up to me. So what's my lesson there? I think my ability to empty my mind through whatever techniques there are available to do that opens up the possibility of making a telepathic connection. It starts with that emptiness. So sometimes we just jump right to a mind like water. We don't have to go through the process of clearing an emotion, but we have a human side. And my human side sometimes have to do the work. That's my little, so I'm going to try it out, see if it works again. If you try it out, let me know how it goes.
Okay, Thomas, we have about a minute left. So if you want to wrap up.
I do. So last minute, who wants to have a last word? Last question?
Well, as your sister, and I love interspecies communication. With a dog that comes and visits me, I talk to her, and it's amazing. I'm sure many of us feel we dogs understand our intention and our emotion, even though it comes out with words. It just feels like they understand, but it is from feeling. Anyway, Tommy, I want you to come back. I think there's enough material here. I know it's a substitute word or cover word or something, but I'm a little overwhelmed with all this material, and it would be really great to have another stab at it. And I'd like to offer that to the group if there's interest. So
I like that idea too.
Sure.
I'd be happy to. Yeah, be happy to. We'll just pick a time on the calendar and we can pick it up from here.
okay.
Right.
That would be great.
Turn it
Tom.
back over to your process to close up. And I see your messages, Amy and Bill. Thank you.